After my husband's funeral, my MIL told everyone I had pushed him too far. She hugged guests while whispering we tried to save him from her. I stayed quiet until I found the hidden folder on his laptop. Inside were voicemails, screenshots, and videos of their private conversations, blaming her for everything. I burned copies. Her eulogy was her last lie. Mine was the truth she never saw coming. My husband Adam died on a cold Tuesday in February. I remember because the sky was gray and heavy, and the streets were still wet from the storm the night before. It didn't seem real at first. I sat in the ER waiting room, staring at the floor tiles, counting them over and over. I kept thinking if I just kept counting, the doctor wouldn't come out. That maybe he'd walk through the doors smiling, saying it was all a mistake. But the doctor came out. He didn't smile. He sat down next to me and said the words I still hear when I close my eyes. We did everything we could. Everything after that blurred. The calls, the paperwork, the way people looked at me like I might shatter into 1,000 pieces. The funeral was held the following Saturday in our small town in Ohio. Family and friends showed up in thick coats and black clothes. I wore the dress Adam had always liked, the simple navy blue one. I couldn't make myself wear black. It felt wrong, like I was admitting he was really gone. I sat there in the front row, clutching a tissue so hard it shredded in my hand. People filed in, hugging each other, whispering. I caught pieces of their conversations. Such a tragedy. He was always so sensitive. Maybe he just couldn't take it anymore. And then I heard her. Marcia, my mother-in-law. She was making the rounds, grabbing people by the shoulders, pulling them into these fake, racking sobs. Every time she hugged someone, she leaned in close and whispered poison into their ears. We tried to save him from her. She pushed him too far. We did all we could. I sat there frozen. My ears rang. I couldn't breathe. It wasn't enough that I had lost him. She wanted everyone to think it was my fault too. Marcia had always hated me. From day one. I wasn't good enough. I didn't come from money. I didn't go to the right church. I didn't know my place as a wife. She made sure I knew that every single time we saw her. But hearing her turn Adam's funeral into a campaign against me, that was a new low even for her. Still, I stayed quiet. I sat through her eulogy where she sobbed and sniffled and painted herself as this tragic, helpless mother who had lost her boy to darkness. She barely mentioned me. When she did, it was a vague, cutting reference to outside influences. I didn't say a word. I just kept my head down and thought about how I needed to get through the day. After the service, people barely looked me in the eye. A few gave me these tight, awkward hugs like they didn't know whose side they were supposed to be on. Others just avoided me altogether. I went home alone. The house was silent. His coffee cup was still in the sink. His sneakers were still by the door. His phone charger still tangled by the bed. I sat on the floor in our bedroom, staring at nothing for hours. At some point, I got up and opened his laptop. I don't even remember what I was looking for. Maybe a picture, a video, something to prove he had been real. Adam was terrible with organizing his computer. Everything was just dumped onto the desktop in random folders. I clicked through them absent-mindedly, not expecting anything. Then I saw it. A folder named Keep. It didn't look special. Just sitting there between his work reports and an old fantasy football roster. But something about it felt different. I opened it. Inside were hundreds of files. Voicemails. Screenshots. Videos. I opened one of the videos first. It was from Thanksgiving 2 years ago. You could see the kitchen crowded with people. Adam was standing by the fridge, looking cornered. Marcia was in his face, wagging a finger at him. "You've changed since you married her," she hissed. "You used to have dreams. You used to have ambition. Now look at you." Adam didn't say anything. He just stood there, his face pale and tight. I clicked on a voicemail next. "Do you even hear yourself, Adam?" Marcia's voice screeched through the speaker. You're throwing your life away for her. She's dragging you down, and you're too stupid to see it. I clicked on another file. It was a voice recording Adam made himself. You could hear him breathing hard, like he was pacing. I'm so tired, he said, voice cracking. No matter what I do, it's never enough for her. I just want to be happy. I just want to live my life without feeling like I'm failing every second. I sat there listening for hours. I listened until my ears felt raw. It wasn't just one or two things. It was years. Years of emotional blackmail. Years of her planting doubts, feeding him guilt, making him believe he was a bad son if he stayed with me. And he had kept it all. Every awful word she said. Every tearful, angry confession he made into his phone when he thought no one would hear. I realized then. Marcia didn't just hurt me. She broke him. And now she was standing over his grave, telling the world it was my fault. I spent the next few days burning copies of everything. I printed out the text messages. I downloaded the voicemails onto USB drives. I made extra backups on cloud drives. I wasn't going to let her destroy what little was left of Adam's truth. When the time came for the memorial service a couple of weeks later, Marcia asked to speak again. I said yes. Smiled and said it sweetly so she wouldn't suspect anything. She got up there in front of a packed room and started spinning her web again. My beautiful boy, she sobbed. He lost his way. We tried so hard to bring him back. We loved him so much. People ate it up. They wiped their eyes and nodded along. Then it was my turn. I stood up slowly. I could feel every eye in the room on me. Marcia smirked at me from her seat. She thought she had one. I walked up to the podium with my stack of papers and my USB drive in hand. And I started playing the recordings. The first recording I played was soft. It started with Adam's voice, shaky but clear. I don't know how to make her happy anymore. No matter what I do, Mom says it's wrong. She says I married a mistake. Sometimes I wonder if she's right. I feel like I'm drowning. You could hear the silence in the room thicken. People shifted in their chairs. Some looked down at their hands. A few glanced over at Marcia. I didn't look at her yet. I wasn't finished. I played another clip. This one was Marcia's voice, full of venom. She's ruining your life. She's a nobody. She's using you. And you're too weak to see it. Gasps echoed through the room. Someone in the back coughed uncomfortably. I kept going. I read a text message aloud, dated just 6 months before Adam's death. Marcia, you're dead to me if you stay with her. You're not my son anymore. I could feel Marcia's rage from where I stood. She tried to get up then, but I raised my hand without even looking at her. I let you talk, I said, my voice steady. Now you'll let me tell the truth. She sat back down hard, her mouth pressed into a tight line. Her cheeks flushed a deep, angry red. Then I pulled out the screenshots, the ones that showed how Marcia would flood Adam's phone with hundreds of messages whenever he didn't answer her fast enough. Threats, guilt trips, insults. And Adam's replies, short, desperate, exhausted. Please stop. I can't take this anymore. Why can't you just be happy for me? I showed it all. I made sure they saw it. When I finished, I didn't cry. I didn't beg anyone to believe me. I just stood there and said, Adam loved hard. He fought harder. But sometimes love isn't enough when you're being attacked from the inside out. He didn't lose his way. He was pushed off the path. And he deserved better than the lies being told about him. Then I stepped down. No one clapped. No one spoke. I left the USB drives on a table by the door. I didn't tell anyone to take them. I didn't have to. People stared at Marcia now like they didn't even recognize her. The same friends who had hugged her after the funeral moved away from her like she smelled rotten. She tried to stand up and say something, anything, but her mouth just opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. I walked straight past her without looking back. Later that week, the fallout really started. It wasn't just whispers. It was full conversations that I wasn't even trying to overhear. At the grocery store, she bullied him to death. She played the grieving mother while stabbing his wife in the back. At the diner, I heard the tapes. Can you believe what she said to him? Her own sister, and Patty, the one who had always called me that girl, showed up at my door with a pie and tears in her eyes. She said she was sorry. She said she didn't know. The pastor of Marcia's church called me too. Said he wanted to make amends and asked if he could pray with me. I told him I wasn't interested in prayers from people who believed lies so easily. Marcia was losing everything she thought she controlled. People stopped answering her calls. Her church friends found other pews to sit in. Even her bridge group kicked her out after a vote. The final blow came when her job, an administrative assistant at the local school, quietly asked her to step down. Too much drama, they said. Too much bad attention. Marcia was left with nothing but her big empty house and the echo of her own poison. And me? I didn't feel better. Not really. Adam was still gone. The truth didn't bring him back. But it mattered. He mattered. And now everyone knew it. About 3 weeks after the memorial, just when I thought the worst of it was behind me, I got a letter. It wasn't an email or a text. It was an actual handwritten letter, delivered in a plain white envelope with no return address. Inside was a single sheet of lined paper. The handwriting was shaky but familiar. It was Adam's. I recognized it right away. He always made his R's too small and looped his G's at the bottom. The letter wasn't long. It said, "If you're reading this, it means she finally pushed me too far. Please know it wasn't you. It was never you. You made me stronger for a long time. You gave me more time than I would have had without you. I'm sorry I couldn't hold on longer. Mom made sure I never felt like enough. Even when I had you, I still heard her voice in my head every day. Please live. Please be happy. Don't let her take anything else from you." I sat there staring at it for what felt like hours. My hands shook. My stomach twisted up into a knot so tight I thought I might throw up. He had written it. He had known. He had been planning for this, even if just in the dark corners of his mind. And someone had hidden it from me. I thought back to the hospital, the way Marcia had insisted she be the one to handle Adam's personal effects. She said it was too hard for me to deal with. I had been too numb to fight her. It hit me like a slap. Marcia must have found the letter first. She had hidden it. She didn't just lie at the funeral, she buried the truth while I was still too broken to realize it. It wasn't enough for her that Adam died. She wanted to make sure she could control the story even after he was gone. I needed proof. Real proof. Not just the letter, not just the recordings. I needed to show exactly what she had done after his death. I started digging. I contacted the funeral home. I asked about Adam's belongings. The director, a kind older man named Mr. Hagen, remembered. He said Marcia had picked them up 2 days after Adam passed, before I even knew where the body was being held. He said he thought it was strange. He even remembered a small envelope sticking out of Adam's jacket pocket, a piece of mail that looked important. But when I got Adam's things later, there had been no letter. Just his watch, his wedding ring, and his wallet. She had stolen it. My hands tightened into fists. My whole body shook. This wasn't grief anymore. It was rage. She hadn't just manipulated Adam in life. She tried to erase his last words to me in death. And that's when I realized the people in town still didn't know the full story. They knew she had bullied him. They knew she had been cruel. But they didn't know she had tampered with his final wishes. They didn't know she had committed a crime. So I made another plan. This time, it wasn't just about telling the truth. It was about making sure Marcia faced real consequences. I spent the next week gathering everything. I had the letter. I had the voice recordings. I had the screenshots. I had the funeral home's witness statement. I went to a lawyer in town. Not someone fancy. Just a small, tough guy named Mr. Calloway who had helped my neighbor with a property dispute once. He listened without saying much. His face stayed stone cold the whole time. When I finished, he leaned forward and said, "You have enough here to start a civil case. Maybe even criminal if you push hard enough. Theft of personal effects. Interference with final communications." His words hit me like a second wind. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't imagining it. We filed a lawsuit against Marcia for emotional distress, theft, and tampering with personal property. Word spread fast. Small towns are like that. Once the papers were filed, people talked. They whispered about how low Marcia had sunk. How she wasn't just a cruel mother. She was a thief who had tried to erase her dead son's last words to his wife. Marcia was served at her house in front of two of her old bridge group friends. She screamed at the delivery guy, cursed him up and down, but it was too late. The damage was done. When the court date came, she tried to walk in like she still had some dignity. She wore a sharp suit and heels. She looked polished. I walked in with Mr. Calloway and a box full of evidence. The judge was a stern woman with glasses hanging from a chain around her neck. She didn't waste time. She listened. She asked short, cutting questions. I sat there, calm and cold, while Mr. Calloway played the recordings. While he showed the texts. While he pointed out how Marcia had stolen Adam's personal belongings and hidden critical information. Marcia tried to argue. She said the letter was private and that she only meant to protect me. The judge cut her off. "You don't get to decide that," she said flatly. The courtroom was dead silent except for the sound of Marcia's breathing getting heavier and heavier. When it was all over, the judge ruled in my favor. Marcia was ordered to pay damages, enough that she had to sell her house to cover the settlement. The court also forced her to issue a public apology at the same church she had stood in to slander me after Adam's funeral. It wasn't just a simple, "I'm sorry" either. She had to stand there and read a statement admitting that she had emotionally abused Adam, that she had lied to everyone, and that she had hidden his final letter from me out of spite. I sat in the second row that Sunday morning while she did it. Marcia stood there, her hands shaking, her voice barely above a whisper. She stumbled through the statement, choking on her own words. She cried halfway through, but no one moved to comfort her. When she finished, she didn't look up. She just stood there, broken and small, while the pastor took back the microphone and led the congregation in a prayer, not for her, but for Adam. She lost everything after that. Her house, her friends, her place in the community. She moved 2 towns over into a crumbling apartment above a liquor store. I heard later she tried to start over, but word followed her. People knew. She spent her days alone, staring out a cracked window, living with the echo of what she had done. And me? I thought winning would make me feel better. But the truth is, it didn't erase the loss. It didn't bring Adam back. It didn't fix the hole in my chest. I made mistakes too. I should have fought harder to pull Adam away from her sooner. I should have seen the signs. I thought love was enough to protect him from everything, even her poison. It wasn't. I have to live with that. But at least now the world knows the truth. Adam's voice wasn't silenced. And Marcia's lies were burned to ash right in front of her. In the end, she lost. I didn't win, but she lost. And sometimes, that's the only justice you get.